Hello everyone, my name is Mensford Owusu and I have a short video here. For my ethics class, basically I have like 5 questions to address with this video as part of my ethics presentation. So enjoy this, people, although I'm no authority on ethics, not in any way. Well, I have 5 questions like I said, and the first question, it says that explain and illustrate the historical development of ethical thought and moral traditions. Basically, he wants to know, the history of ethical thought and moral traditions. This is self-explanatory. Now, ethics started when people started asking the question, why? When people started questioning authority, not necessarily being rowdy or being disrespectful, but asking questions respectfully, that why should this act be done? Now, the question then is, why were people questioning set norms or authorities? It was because there were norms, there were morals, there were, morality was already in existence. Morality is explained from it's originally a Latin word, moris, which basically means proper conduct, just like ethics. Ethics is also a Greek word, is from the Greek word ethos, which is character, So basically the two words almost mean the same. It means proper conduct or proper way of doing things. Now, like I said, morality refers to moral rules that people follow, that guides their day-to-day activities, the way of life, what they should do, what they can do, and what they cannot do. Now, ethics then asks the questions as to why those actions cannot be done or those actions are being taken. For instance, if you cannot point to, if you are from Ghana, for instance, in West Africa, and you cannot point to anything with your left, you cannot greet the elderly with your left. If you need to take out your hat when you meet an elderly person, ethics asks the question why that has to happen. Now, it is said that rational beings everywhere have asked questions, and that in every functional society, people are expected to ask questions. Now, when you ask questions about the rules that govern our very existence, the rules that govern our way of doing things, our way of life, then ethics come into play. So when we're looking at the historical development of ethics and moral traditions, we can say that morals actually start from the home, and therefore parents are actually considered the primary teachers of morality. Again, morality is somehow linked with our religious background. Every single society, even if someone is atheist, he does not believe in God, which means that there's a belief in God before not believing in God. So morality, from time immemorial, also has a religious aspect of it. So then religion, to a very large extent, informs our morals. Now, Socrates is credited with being the first philosopher in the Western world, at least, to focus on ethics. This is to say that morality was the norm of the day. People were told why they should do certain things and people were told what to do and what not to do. They were not given reasons for not being able to take out certain actions or perform certain functions. Now, Socrates then asked the questions why certain things cannot be asked. He therefore, as Nina Rosenstadt said in her introduction to ethics, she said that Socrates elevated the discussion of morals to an academic critical examination, which means that basically he brought out what people need to ask and the right questions. Plato, a student of Socrates, actually made the works of Socrates really known through the dialogues of Socrates with his friends, colleagues, and enemies alike. Now, the second question basically is distinguish between different ethical theories and moral criteria within and across cultures. It says that explore the consequences of the argument that we can neither condemn nor praise other cultures. Now, by praising or condemning other cultures, we're talking about ethical relativism. So basically the question is, do I agree with the idea that we cannot praise or criticize other cultures? I think that as people, we criticize and praise people, not direct. We don't have to say that somebody is doing great or somebody is doing bad in order to say that you criticize the person. You can criticize in many ways. When you learn from somebody, you're praising the person. When you see a practice and you think it's a bad practice and therefore you do not accept it, that is criticism on its own. So I think that as people, we rub off on each other. For instance, there are many tribes or many ethnic groups within, say, Africa. These tribes have distinct practices and they have similar ones. They were not born with these practices. They've copied and learned from each other. They've deciphered what is good for them and what is bad for them. So ideally, I think criticizing people and praising them is part and parcel of our lives as human beings. Then that same question says, if we accept relativism, why must we bow to majority rule? Now, majority rule is everywhere in every single part of our aspect. The majority carries the rule. Makes the rules. Majority could be the strongest, could be the richest, could be the mightiest, and by way of military might. So if you have the weapons, if you have the authority, then whatever you say goes. In our world, the central government is the most powerful entity. He has the army, he has the backing of the army, he has the backing of the police service, he has all the weapons at his disposal. Therefore, when he makes laws, he can enforce those laws. And the same thing in our day-to-day activities. The majority carries the vote because they decide basically what we can do and what we cannot do. So, I agree with that notion that the majority, we must bow to the majority rule because at the end of the day, majority carries the vote. Then it goes on to say that should we assume that the position of power will flow from a democratic numerical majority? Of course, since they make the rules and set the standards for us, they are part of the majority. What we should not forget is that the majority is part of the people. It's not like the majority is an entity sitting somewhere making rules for the minorities, which is in the majority. No, the majority is the bulk of the people, basically. So then if you're in a society where you are the minority, the majority is, of course, going to make decisions for you. Once upon a time, gay marriage was illegal in California. Now it is legal because the majority says so. When the majority then said no, the minority lived with them and accepted it as law. Now the majority are saying yes, the minority are still there and living with them. The next question, that will be question 3. It says, analyze the influence of ethical philosophy on religion, politics, and science. I'm choosing science, and it says, can science work in a value-free environment, or does science have a duty to work within a system of moral values? I think that science cannot work in a value-free environment. Why am I saying this? Every human being, like I said before, is governed by rules and moral codes. So then even if you live in a secular world or secular country where religion does not play any part in determining what you can do and what you cannot do as a lawyer, as a judge, as a scientist, as a doctor, you still have moral conscience based on your upbringing and religious beliefs. Whether stem cell research is legal, whether cloning is legal, whatever practice it is, whether whatever practice that you are allowed by law to carry it out, your conscience plays a part, your moral upbringing plays a part. So then you start to question: should I clone? Should I play God in this dimension or in this situation? Although the law permits it, so I don't think science can work in a value-free environment. It definitely plays on our conscience, it plays on our morals, and it brings into question what we perceive to be right or wrong. The next question is, does violence beget violence? And then it talks about the movie, will Pulp Fiction inspire more violence? Why does Plato believe this? Why does Socrates does not believe it? Stuff like that. Plato was a student of Socrates. He believed that going to the cinema and seeing all those movies, all these harsh things that we see on TV, it does not actually reform us. It does not make us good people. We do not learn from the bad side of the story. We only copy the violence, the wickedness, the vulgarness in those movies, and then we take that part, and then it doesn't make us any better of a people or a person. It only worsens the case. I think I agree with Plato in this direction, because when we go to the movies, we go and see characters let me give you a typical scenario. Like The Godfather. The Godfather is a typical example. Don Corleone. People go to the movies to see the wicked Don Corleone. They come back and they want to be like Don Corleone. People go to the movies to see Tony Montana. They come back and they want to be like Tony Montana. So at the end of the day, if the movie writer, if the director of that movie wanted to, send a message of saying that being evil, being vicious is not good, that's not what the people are learning. They're actually learning the very bad part. So when you watch Pulp Fiction, for instance, you're looking at the gangsters, you're looking at their hitmen, and those are the people that make the movies stick, and those are the people that people go to the cinemas to see. I do not think that, these movies in any way reform the people. It only begets violence because it tells them that killing your enemy or killing the wrongdoer is the right thing to do, as long as you're killing somebody who is breaking the law or who is much more evil than you yourself. And the fifth and last question says that discuss the issue of sexual harassment, and then he asks whether the guidelines provided by the Fair Employment and Housing Act are reasonable. He says why or why not. Or should lawyers, then he goes on to say, should lawyers date their clients? Should doctors date patients? Should professors date their students? He says, why or why not? I think the act by the State of California Fair and Employment Housing Act, I think it's apt and up to date. I think it really states clearly what a person can do and what a person cannot do. It gives out details to both employers and employees. It tells them vividly what they should do in case of a sexual harassment. It tells employers, for instance, to make available posters depicting sexual harassment acts and telling people what they need to do when they see a sexual harassment going on at the workplace. It also tells the employees that when a sexual harassment act happens, he or she should be very fast in reporting such an incident to the authorities. It tells you that a person should not condone or should not be involved in any way, should not encourage the act of sexual harassment. Now, I think that it is very normal. If a doctor wants to date a client and that affection is not going to affect his work and output in the workplace, I don't think I have a problem with that. I think that should be permitted. Thank you very much.